Welcome to the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, discussing all things audiobooks with the authors that write the stories and the narrators that perform them. Brought to you by Viviana, Enchantress of Books.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Season 5, Episode 23 of the Audiobook Lovin Podcast. Today, I am chatting with author Amy Booker. Welcome to the podcast, Amy.
Hi there.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. So, listener, she's shared that she's listened to this podcast before and is a fan.
I'm fangirling.
Yeah, which makes me all giddy because I swear I always feel like no one's listening and I'm just speaking to like a black cat into the void.
That's how a writer feels.
Yeah. Okay. See? So I'm not alone. It feels good.
No.
So I'm excited to get to know you better by having these conversations and also a little bit of popping your cherry, which I love doing.
That's great.
So we're going to start like we normally do with having you tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been writing and how you got started.
I've been doing romance since 2022. I did write under my real name years ago. I've been writing like poetry and stories about horses and scripts for Fantasy Island since I was like in third grade. So it's always been like a thing I've done. And a few years ago, I'm just like, fuck it, I'm going to do this. And 2022, I started my first series and I think I'm on book 14 now. Nice. So yeah, I've been a little prolific since I gave it a go.
I love how it's like nonchalant. I've been a little prolific.
Yeah.
And also the whole like, fuck it, I'm going to write.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's kind of like ADHD on speed. It's like, I have this idea, I have that idea. And all of my books are standalones, but they're in a connected universe. It's called the Bookerverse. So if you meet a character and you like that character, don't feel bad. You're probably going to see them again. They're probably going to have their own book. And I'm pulling out like guys from the first series and they're like, I never thought you could redeem this guy. I'm like, well, everybody kind of should be redeemable.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. It's fun. I like my universe.
Well, yeah. I mean, in a world where we're constantly seeing all the negative stuff, to have it where in your case, you create the world. So you have complete control, unless the characters are talking to you and going, yeah, we're not going to do that.
They have.
See, and as readers, we love diving into this because we're like, even the biggest asshole can be redeemed. We're going, okay, there may be some hope in the real world. Maybe.
Because, I mean, everybody's got flaws. Some of them just get highlighted differently in different books. And people aren't two-dimensional. Everybody's got at least three.
And I'm a firm believer that just because you're a villain in someone's story doesn't necessarily mean that you're bad.
Oh, I'm sure I'm a villain in a lot of people's stories.
Well, I know for sure I am as well. And you know what? Ask me why I became the villain. That's the thing.
There is a story there. Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing with these characters. In the one book that we're reading at that point in time, that, there may have been a purpose behind him being the villain or she being the villain.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of mentioned that your characters speak to you. How is that whole like for you? As far as you're writing a story, are you a plotter or a planster? How does that work?
Yes. Absolutely. Nailed it. I start out, I get really organized. I have a spreadsheet. I have, this is going to happen by this many words, and this is going to happen by this many words. And then I start writing, and my characters just say, fuck you. We're going to do whatever the hell we want. And I also envision things in my head like a movie, like scenes. I can picture it in my head, and then I'm just dictating, what's going on. And by the end of the scene, I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing? That is not what I had planned. And it goes from there. So my outline never gets looked at again. And different characters just pop up out of nowhere and storylines, branch off. And it's like, okay, I can work with this. I can handle it. I kind of have to. But yeah, I have good intentions when I start a book, but it doesn't always go to plan. But I enjoy the ride. It's the ride that really makes it worth it. It makes it richer, I think, because when you outline and you're saying, okay, this is going to happen by then, it's flat. It doesn't really have color. And I like that my characters do that for me. They make it relatable. They make it come alive. and it gets a little weird.
Everybody that was listening, like, oh my gosh, she said spreadsheet. Yay. I love a good spreadsheet.
Yes.
Color coded. Oh my God.
Color coded. Yep.
But I understand it, the best of intentions of some of my spreadsheets. I'm going, that's kind of where I wanted it. And this is what I end up with. Looks completely chaotic. But I had it funny as far as you were saying about visuals. Was you were telling me about how the characters kind of like you see a movie in front of you and the character starts, and I'm going, I so saw you watching that screen going, what the fuck, bro?
Exactly.
A lot of times readers may believe that, like you said, you have this plan and what ends up as the book is exactly how you worked at it. And most of us are going, yeah, no, that's not it.
And I also write with a narrator in my head, usually too, for the voice. I always have somebody picked out in my head. And it's like, I don't picture that narrator though, which is weird.
As it should be though.
But I mean, it's somebody else with their voice. It's like, I know what they look like, but it's a strange mix. But I do usually have the voice in my head. And especially when I'm writing dialogue, I'm like, I try to make my writing easy for narrators. Like I don't use grasps or clasps, you know? I try not to use those words that are the typical stumble words.
Or like the bumblebee looked over there through the
Yeah. I know narrators really hate some phrases and I try to stay away from them as best I can.
I'm sure that it's very much appreciated, but it kind of goes to show how we take in information differently. When we're eyeball reading it, it doesn't really make a whole lot of a difference. She said the bumblebee, blah, 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 right? Or she rasps and stuff like that. But when you're saying it out loud, that's a different, literally different story. But I'm glad that you kind of envision that. Now, here's a question, because you may have noticed or may not have, but you actually, if you listen to the podcast, you do notice that when the narrators are on here, they kind of sound a little different when they're having normal conversation versus as soon as they get into the booth and they start sitting or standing up straight, you know, doing all this stuff and sounding extremely professional.
Like they should.
Yeah. Like they should. But I've actually had authors that say, you know, I'm just going to tell them to do it like they did it at your podcast. Just that normal kind of, because again, it's still a good voice.
Yeah.
Do you find that sometimes when you've either met them in person and you've heard them say certain things, or they've done, you know, lives and they're like, oh, they're actually quite funny.
Yeah. I haven't met anyone, but I have seen some lives of narrators I've worked with, and it's like, they're not too different. I think I can mentally separate the person from the actor. And when I write, I don't envision the person, I envision the actor doing the part.
Good.
I at least can mentally separate that. I know in my head, whatever I write, they're going to do perfectly. I trust their professionalism and their judgment on choices and everything. I've never really had to direct anybody to do something different. I don't have a problem with that at all, I don't think.
Well, I think that's a good thing too. And it's considering the world that we're living in when it comes down to the narrators being significantly more accessible. I think sometimes some of the community may tend to not be able to differentiate the character from the actor.
Oh, yeah. There's being a fan, and then there's a parasocial relationship that crosses the line. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Have I kept some of those clips of them saying my name? So when I get asked, so yes, I can fan over them, but I think it's also a good differentiation between who they are as human beings and as the actor and these characters.
Yeah.
You know, I like it when we as readers can bust out with, oh my God, Amy's so-and-so character. Oh my God. Versus insert narrator name, so hot, right?
Right. Who is a real person.
Exactly. And I'm like, yeah, you know, they're married or so-and-so. Or like, no, they don't even have social media. So whatever you say, they ain't going to see, dude.
Right. And it's kind of sad that they can't have social media or...
Well, don't wanna, I think. And I mean, you know, honestly, as much as I love what the good things on social media can happen, the connecting of people, the reconnections of, you know, relationships and friendships and discovering, you know, new communities is great. But sometimes the negative of the social media is significantly larger.
It's toxic. It's
very toxic. And I think that we all need to do better, especially in book world, because as much as the community is one to say, we love everyone and every supported this. There are some of the worst.
I blame algorithms for that, though. It seems like every negative post seems to get fed, and it just becomes this big beast, and it's something you can't tame once it's unleashed, where anything positive is just stifled,
But that's also where it always takes that one. And I know that that's been also the conversation within the community lately is like, oh, well, that's that one influencer, quote unquote, that broke the case, as it used to be said back in the days, right? Broke the news or was talking about it. And it's one thing to be the one that says, listen, guys, let's have this conversation and say XYZ or so whatever. It's another one to go, oh, what else can I talk shit about to get the followers and the likes? And,
right.
We need to redirect that. I've been trying to do my very best to stay with the positivity and sharing the love. So when there's a new release from an author, or when there's a casting reveal and things like that, or I'm like, oh my gosh, you wrote about that one. Oh, we've been waiting about these characters. Because there's always a side character that pops out of nowhere.
Oh, I know them.
The type of example scene that I always say is like, the group is hanging out at a diner or a restaurant, fill in the blank. And that one character pops in because they had to tell somebody, and then they leave. And everyone is like, them. I want more of them. I'm like, they only said 10 words, people, but you guys have done something in those 10 words.
Yeah.
To make us want more. So that's, again, talent on your end.
And that's where a series comes in and you get a universe of people.
Yeah. But I do love it that you do the individual standalones within the same world, because sometimes y'all write like 50,000 books in a series and I'm going, that's intimidating.
It is intimidating. My last series I just finished. The last one came out in January, and there's 5 books. The Rhapsody series. It's Rockstars, The Murderous Crows. That just finished January. 5 books. That was my longest series, I think.
I just also love that you're The Murderous Crows.
Yeah. I love coming up with band names. Oh my God.
But that's just like a group of crows that is called The Murder.
Mm-hmm. I know.
For those that may not have known, now you do. And you will start laughing as well when I heard that.
I love play on words like that, though.
It's really good, though. And band names are important. It's a whole, like branding and stuff. So the fact that you enjoy it is fun versus, like those blurbs. Many authors of y'all don't like doing blurbs.
No, we don't. It's more like condensing than my ADHD will allow. Because if I'm going to tell you a story, there's going to be tangents, and you have to be willing to go along on each and every one. So putting a 100,000 word book into 100, that's hard.
It's also why I love it when we have readers and reviewers that are like, you're just going to want to buy it. Or those that are like, listen, Amy wrote it. I don't care if it's an underwater basket weaving band, but Amy wrote it, so I'm buying it.
I actually used that in a book about underwater basket.
I know. I mean, I got that saying like years ago when I was in high school. I did ROTC. They're back in the day. But then again, that also totally shows my personality that, for 4 years I did that.
Yeah.
That my military-ish. And one of the sergeants was, he's like, oh, there we go. We're going to go underwater basket weaving. Doesn't care. You do it proper. And I'm like, all right. So I kind of kept it. So now I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Underwater basket weaving. Here we go.
I want to try it just to see. I mean, it's a thing, apparently.
Right? I say we go to the dollar store, grab some, inexpensive yarn, because I wouldn't want to do that for more expensive, feel good kind of yarn. And, anybody that knows how to weave or, knit or, crochet, let's just see how fun that's going to be.
That's awesome. I think it's going to be dangerous meeting you, I think.
No. As a reader, when you go to these other book events, you're within your people. But as an audiobook listener, and if you solely listen to audiobooks, you're not eyeballing it. You feel a little out of the box when you go to these book conventions, because you're like, well, I don't have any physical books, or you feel compelled to have to buy 1,000 physical books to come, to match your library on your playlist. And sometimes you're like, oh yeah, when so-and-so insert narrator name was performing Amy's character, and people are like, what? I'm like, okay, so like I'll girl out.
I think there is a difference between an eyeball reader and a listener as far as like how the brain works. because I'm a listener as well. It's ever since I was little, I just loved having stories told to me. I don't know if it goes back to like way back to caveman when that's how history was passed down or
basically
what, but it's just something innate that, I mean, I even go to sleep with an audiobook every night. I just love being read to. And I think our brains work differently. It's like a theater of the mind kind of thing that is wired differently than when you read the words, than when you hear them. I'm sure there's some science behind it, but that's above my pay grade.
You know, and some of the things that we described when it comes down to the audiobooks is like a narrator's cadence and also the character's cadence that you have provided from the script,
Right.
where if they get nervous, they talk really, really, really fast, or they get excited, they get like that. When someone's telling us a story, there is that musicality to it.
Yeah.
And that kind of lulls us into that relaxations. I personally have tried listening to an audiobook to fall asleep, but then I get all nervous that I'm going to miss it. So I've done it where it's just more calm playlist. But you said that you listen to audiobooks. You as an ADHDer do not freak out about where you leave off.
Oh no, there's a ritual. There's a ritual every night of, okay, where did I leave off? Because I set it for an hour and usually I get like 20, maybe 30. I also have really bad time falling asleep. So insomnia is a thing, but I usually know about when I fell asleep and I'll go back. And that's like the ritual every night is finding where I left off. It's like, okay, did I hear all of this before? Is this where I go? And it's just, that's part of my sleep ritual is finding where I left off. It's really a chore, but we'll call it a ritual.
It's all about how you look at things, right? I mean, right now I was going through my list of books. I'm like, in a series again. I'm going, wait, did I read that one? Or is it book 6 or book 7 that I left off? And I'm going back to the blurb, trying to figure it out. I'm like, I'm just going to hit play. And if this sounds way too familiar, I probably listened to it already.
Yeah, that's, I think, any listener or reader's problem is, did I read this? Did I? And then there's like book 4.5 that you didn't know came out. And it's like, oh, shit.
But also for me, like, because I've been listening and reading books since I was 2, I'm a visual. So I can kind of like, because of the book cover. Now y'all are getting up with like every 4 years, every couple of years, you get, rebranding, remarketing and changing covers. And then I'm like, oh, when did she come up with a new book? No, it's the same book I read before, just a new cover.
I haven't done that yet. I don't know if I'll do that.
No, your covers are good though.
Yeah, I don't want to redo them.
No, it's also a lot of work.
It took forever.
I understand trends and like, so how do you feel about this whole like
cartoons?
Well, yeah, the cartoon covers or how are they calling them? A little bit more discreet covers, because some of them don't even have cartoons. Some of them can just be like almost like back in the day, Pride and Prejudice, just a title and some nice color behind it.
Oh, God bless Jane Austen. I'm all for discrete covers, but not as the main cover. My last 2 series, I did come out with the alternative covers after the fact, like a month or 2 after release, just for an alternative for people that want to buy the paperback, but don't want some cute guy with long hair on the cover while they're riding the subway because people can't give people space, Yeah. I want that option at least to be there, but I wouldn't do it. I can't say I wouldn't. I mean, it's a choice. It's definitely a choice. And there's a lot of reasons why people do different things, especially cost, because photos are expensive. Exclusive photos are. So I get it, but I prefer to visualize the character, at least the main male character or whoever the main person is. But I like to have the option too for the reader.
I think it's great. I like it when I found those books that are like paperback or sometimes those, I do love a good library edition.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know what a library edition is, it's basically a hardcover book, but the design is on the actual cover versus a paper dust jacket. So those are great because it's one less thing I have to worry about getting squishy. But I like it when it's like maybe looks like back in the day, Jane Austen kind of book where it's and then as soon as you open it though, that first page, it's the actual book cover of the ebook. Yeah. Those are fun. But I get it. I understand it. But at the same time, like, I don't like it. If I'm going to read it, I'm going to own it, damn it. And if anybody thinks separatively, let them think and imagine that I am way more spicier in their head than I probably am in real life, which is probably most of us readers. I'm like, let them imagine whatever they can.
With the cartoon, though, I think those are, especially in the romance genre, those are a little, in my mind, deceptive.
Yes.
I don't read dark romance, so it's who knows what's going on behind the couple and the dog and the picket fence on the cover.
I know, right?
You know?
But that's also where this is me. Again, you're going to be like, yes, I love you. Where I would do the cartoon cover kind of a thing, but I would also have like the handcuffs on the floor. And if it's a house in the window, it wouldn't be blank. It would be like the cross and the red room concept, behind it. It becomes like, let's see what they've added to this cover game.
Where's Waldo?
Yes, because at this point, it might as well. But I do agree, it is deceptive. I think there's certain things, brands and things that we look at that are going to be synonymous for a type. And for a long time, aside from children's books, I think the cartoonish was very much rom-com.
Yeah.
And now, because of, again, it's a trend and it happens and it's okay. But give me something, a whip, a cross, not the religious cross, the other cross, something that lets me know that this is not a rom-com.
Something.
Yeah. Not that I'm saying that the rom-com couple can't be special in that way, but there's still, that's going to be interesting as he walks in on the first dates.
It's not a small town romance.
No. Yeah.
Or welcome to Amityville.
Yeah. Well, the thing is true, though, that, we all live in a world where we sometimes don't know. Our doctors could be into certain kinks, our teachers, and that doesn't mean anything negative. So why can't it be a rom-com where she just happens to like being tied up, or she's the one doing the whipping? Right. By all means, it could be funny. But dark romance is completely different, though. And it should be looked at that. I'm thinking like other kind of covers. Maybe have a dark cover instead of a hot pink cover. And then it might be a little different. But anyways, I digress. The thing with me with book covers, though, and since you were, you kind of brought it up too with photos, is yes, they're really expensive. But for me, my thing is like in your, for Coda, he has, brownish hair, shaggy, has that tattoo, but doesn't match the description of the character. And in most cases, it doesn't. And I'm going, yeah, the cover, he's blonde, but he's not blonde in the book. He has green eyes. He's not green eyes in the book. So this is where you get a graphic designer, folks, to help out.
Yeah. Or if you're me, you just do it yourself because you do everything. Yeah, those tattoos, I put them there. Because like I said, I visualize, usually I have the picture ahead of time. So I know what the dude looks like. And I try to make it, like even I think on Coda's cover, he's got a tattoo on his hand of a crow, which is important to the story. So I try to make them as realistic as possible because I don't want, as a reader, I don't want to be reading it and be like, that's not who you got on the cover. That's false advertising.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like having the cover, have it be on a Scottish moor with a castle and like in Brooklyn. Like, where are they going to this?
Exactly. Just some guy in a kilt. What? This guy's got a Jersey accent. What's going on? Yeah, I don't want to confuse readers. I try to keep it as true to the story as possible.
As you now have been writing for these couple of years, are you finding that you are sticking to the genre that you're still working in? Or are you going, I think I am going to write that rom-com or that, horror romance tomorrow?
Right. I started out my first series as a rock star romance about the band Indigo King. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm going to shift gears. I'm going to do about this car company in Vegas. I'm going to do a series about Vegas and women who run this car company. And people didn't like the shift. And I stuck it out. I'm like, I'm going to finish this series. I have it planned out, blah, blah, blah. And it didn't work. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. I am going back to my rock stars because that's what not only I enjoy writing about, but that's what readers kind of expect now. And I am totally okay with that. I am on board. I'm like, cool. I'm a musician. I have a lot of stories that I can throw into these things. Absolutely. We are doing rock stars. If I were to shift again, I would probably do it under a different pen name, to be honest, just so there's no muddying of the waters. I know some authors are like, screw it, this is what I write, enjoy it. I think I want an expectation that's already there to not have to change.
Mm-hmm.
If people expect rock star romance from me, God damn it, that's what they're going to get.
Good.
So there. But yeah, if I'm going to start doing rom-coms, which I highly doubt, my stuff is not. I mean, there is humor in my books, but it's usually a lot of bad shit happens. I was trying to think, have I written a book where someone doesn't end up in the hospital or dead, or they're few and far between. Mm-hmm. So making a rom-com, probably not my wheelhouse. Mm. So I have my funny characters.
Well, I mean, it's a lot sometimes to maintain something that's not in your wheelhouse or you don't feel comfortable doing. That's the other thing. Yeah. With all your rock stars at this point, you need to come up with a concert where they're all going to be at, though.
Oh, yeah. There's festivals. Absolutely. Yeah.
Have that be a next box collection. That's the festival. These are all the bands.
Here's Coachella. Woohoo. I'm going to have to rename it something else, though.
Yeah, that is true. Because, copyright infringements is a thing, people.
It's a thing. Absolutely.
It's a thing. Don't bust out with Henry Cavill at this band.
Oh, Henry.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. You're cutie patootie, but yeah, no, don't do it, ladies. Don't do it, authors. And don't do it, readers.
Please.
Please. I think that, wanting to try new things is great, but, stick with what makes you happy to. And if this is what makes you happy, girl.
And it is. I mean, I don't even want it to sound like I'm complaining, I'm stuck doing rock stars. No, I love my rock stars. Like I said, I'm a musician. I love the world. I love telling the stories of the world. And because a lot of rock stars, it's a bad rap just from the beginning of the word. When you say rock star, like, trashing hotel rooms, being an asshole, there's this whole thing. My guys are cinnamon rolls. My rock stars they're realizing they're not the bad boy they think they are. Almost all of them, 100%. It's probably projection on my part. I don't want him to be an asshole. Come on.
No.
Everybody's a nice guy.
But also I think it's that whole thing where assumption is that they might be this, and then you're going, pleasantly surprised, insert that.
Exactly. The duet I have coming out starting next month is exactly that. The main character was a bad guy in the first series, and it's like redemption is possible. He's not always going to be that person. People grow, people evolve, and I like seeing that transformation.
Absolutely. It's good that they can. Do all of them do it? No. But I want to focus on the ones that can, because that's positivity.
I mean, I want everyone to feel like everyone can be loved.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the core of everything I write, is like, no matter how damaged you are, no matter how much shit you've been through, no matter how often you've been fucked over, you can find a way to trust somebody. You can find a way to love somebody. You can find a way to allow yourself to be loved. And that is really important to me, because everybody's damaged, and it's like, that's, I think, where my characters become relatable to readers is, yeah, you're damaged, but look, there's somebody that cares anyway. I want that for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm done.
All right, folks, we're ending it here. No. But yeah, I'm not, no, you've mentioned it twice, and I'm going to ask, like, okay, so you're a musician. Do you play an instrument, or is your voice your instrument? What you do?
I took 11 years of dancing when I was little, and my sister got the piano lessons. I got the dance lessons. So I taught myself how to play piano, but I also had voice lessons. So I started out as a singer in a band. Then an ex-boyfriend taught me how to play drums. So I got piano and I got drums, and I can figure out bass. My ex-husband is a bass player. So I dabble in everything, and I am a master of nothing. But I still do the karaoke on occasion. But yeah, music has always been in my life. My mom played piano. My dad sang, not like for a living, just, around the house. And I grew up, there's like a gap between me and my brother and sister. So my sister was into like Rush and Styx and Journey and stuff like that. Meanwhile, I had Duran Duran and Wham and Madonna, which transitioned into like hair metal. And my brother was listening to Star Trek scores, not even music. It's music, but like John Williams and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I had such a wide gamut of music growing up, and I still love everything. So I'm like, rock stars, I can relate because their creativity comes from that exact place that I came from.
Absolutely. As the girl that has like Nordic Vikings, Celtic, and the Beatles and Metallica and so on, my playlist run the gamut.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But that also similar to you and you're growing up. I did the same thing. I my listening in the car. My mom, we were all singing in the car, and some of people's chagrins. We're like to my little brother Anthony, you go boop boop. You stick to that boop boop. Okay.
That's your part.
Yeah. And then my twin sister, like, okay, who has harmony? And she's taking the lead. But yeah, I mean, I took chorus in middle school. I had guitar and I always wanted to play a piano. So I dabble in it a little bit, but never proficiently. And then like, I've always wanted to do the violin. Have not done that yet.
Yeah. Same. Cello.
And so it's like, it just artistically where I love it. And so it's good to hear that there's other people also too that grew up with that. And also that playlist is literally all over the place.
Yeah. All of my books have playlists. Every chapter is a song title. And I put them at the back of the book. They're on YouTube, they're on Spotify, and you'll see just from the playlist how crazy my mind is, because I'm listening to that song as I'm writing that chapter, or it inspires it, whether it's the title or just a line in the song. There's something in that song that, is a part of that chapter. And I love that people love the playlists.
The readers love a playlist. I think it's because a lot of us are multitaskers. And sometimes, at least when I was eyeball reading, I was into the music. My mom would jump into the room like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm reading. She's like, but the music's on. I'm like, uh-huh. Same thing with studying. With your books being all rock star and musicians and stuff like that, we know, again, with copyrights, we're not supposed to, in the audiobooks, especially they sing songs and stuff like that. Are you, or have you done already where you've worked with a band or you yourself come up with your own songs to include for these bands to play and sing?
Well, a lot of I can't say a lot, but some of the books do have songs in them that I write. So the lyrics are there in Coda, which Aaron Shadlock and Samantha Brentmore did the performance for. And there were even some in the first series. I asked the narrators not to sing. They could have the most angelic voices in the world, but I've heard songs done poorly and it was cringe, and I don't want it to be cringe, so I'm just read it like a poem, and everyone who ever had to do it in any of my books just nailed it. So it's a weird thing when you write a song or you have to have a melody in an audiobook. It's like, do you want them to sing? Do you not want them to sing? Because I have a melody in my head, but I wouldn't want to put the narrator in that position.
That is true. Well, that just means that we had to find a band that can do your songs, and then we can add it to the end of the book.
I would love that. Let's get the models.
Yeah.
They could be a real band.
Right? Hey, I mean, there's a lot of musicians out there, you never know, that can just start working with them and stuff like that. Hey, Troy. Anyways.
Let's get on this.
Yeah.
We have an idea.
I know a guy. He's in this band called Voila.
Nice. Yeah, we need to put Murderous Crows together for sure.
I think it would be kind of cool, especially if you are going to be at an event, to be able to have someone do a little bit of live music, but also in the books themselves. During the story, I get it, but it'd be kind of cool to be having the actual song.
Yeah.
At the end of it and hearing it in full force.
Yeah.
And that's just me being creative and thinking about all the options and fabulous ways to get stuff done.
Yeah. When I was casting the first book I did, almost in the first series, I had a narrator who was also a musician kind of actually offer that. He's like, if there's songs in the book, I can write music for it. And my mind just instantly went legal. Oh God. We're going to have copyrights and royalties and it was harrowing. I love the idea. I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. But there's legal stuff here. I probably shouldn't. But yeah, it would be cool. It would really be cool.
Put that on your to-do list for later. We'll talk.
Okay.
What happens when you're the creative ones too? You come up with all these ideas.
There has to be somebody in the room and be like, no.
No, yeah. I'm usually the enabler in the friend group that will help you make sure that you succeed and that you have all your fun and everything like that. But I'm also the one that when it comes down to me, I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks. I'm good.
Yeah, we probably shouldn't,
But hey,
we think about it.
We'll see. We'll see.
I don't know. I'm still going for the underwater basket weave.
Hey, there's still time between here and Darkstar. We have options and, possibilities. You never know.
We'll figure it out.
With you mentioning that you also you listen to audiobooks, you've cast the books for for your titles. Is there a narrator out there that you're going, ooh, can't wait to cast you?
Oh gosh. I've been lucky so far. Pretty much everybody I've reached out to has been really receptive and great about scheduling and stuff like that, or rescheduling, as the case may be. The one person I can never track down, though, is Zachary Weber.
Mm.
He would have been a couple of my characters, actually. As time goes on, you're like, well, maybe that's the voice I'm hearing. I'm not sure. And then you try to schedule it, and it's like, oh, okay, that's not going to work. I got to change the voice in my head. But Zach Weber, and plus he's a musician, so it's like he would be perfect for a few of my characters, at least.
Okay.
But he's the one, I think.
It's always good to have one someday.
It's good to have goals.
Well, again, it's all about scheduling, right? By the time that you finish your book and when you want it to come out, and we have this whole thing about, releasing at the same time, it's a lot quicker to write the book than it is to record it and things like that.
Yeah.
And some authors are planners and they can do that, and others are not.
And others are me.
Yeah. She finished it yesterday and went through 3 different edits today. It'll be out tomorrow.
Sure.
Why not?
Absolutely. No, back to the question, though. I love discovering new narrators, though, too. A lot of authors want to go for the big name, probably like Zach, But when I did my first series, it was actually the second audition I got for Ryan, the main character. And the guy's name is Ryan. And I'm like, okay, serendipity. Not only did I get goosebumps listening to his audition because it matched the voice in my head.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God, this is Ryan. And he's Ryan. Ryan Lee Dunlap, I'm talking about, the narrator who did the first series. It wasn't that he was not known, but he'd only had a few books out. And it was like, I have this diamond in the rough here. People are going to find him. I got to get him now. Before that happens. And he was absolutely wonderful to work with. If you're an author and you're looking for a narrator and you want the big name, don't overlook people that don't have a lot of releases out. There's diamonds out there.
Oh, absolutely. I am a firm believer that giving someone a chance and opportunity. But I'm also the girl that, because I do marketing for authors, I've had this conversation with clients and potential clients, and they want the big name because the big name is associated with sales. But
Absolutely.
The reality is there's also been many a book that has a big name that I have purposely not bought because of said name, with whatever purpose and reason behind it.
Exactly.
That's also where, for me, casting is important. If that big name happens to fit the casting role, I'm like, fine.
Yeah. If it fits the character, absolutely.
If it fits the character, right. But most of the time, it is. I've seen it, and which also kills the whole vibe listen to it. It doesn't fit. And their whole thing is, because they sell books. I'm like, yeah, but do they really? Because they're popular now. Are they going to be popular in another year, 6 months? Some, fill in the blank stuff happens. And, up a creek without a paddle. And so this is where the conversation has also very much been with authors about proper casting. And also if they're good. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't really matter that he sounds hot as fuck when he goes fuck, And there's been some castings where I'm going, he is such a stick in he is so stiff and not in a good way. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, why is he keep getting cast? He's not getting any better. And other times I'm going, oh my goodness, no, you need coaching. And it's all practice. And so that's also where I've done it, where I'm like, okay, well, you let's say, Sebastian York. And he's fully booked for the next 50 odd years.
Right.
What is it about his voice that you like that would fit this character? And that's where, finding new to readers and listeners and authors' voices is always a great and fun thing to do. And I love it too when that happens. And yes, authors have busted out with, I'm going to book them before someone else does when they find that new voice.
Mm-hmm.
Happens though.
It's a neat feeling. And I'm like the biggest cheerleader for all narrators. It's like I see Ryan doing so well now.
Yeah.
And it's like, you go, boy. You deserve all of your flowers,
Absolutely. I love it when I, been listening to a narrator from the very beginning, like from book one. And then all of a sudden someone on TikTok or Instagram or filling the social media is like, oh my God, I've discovered XYZ. And I'm going, bitch, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm such a super fan. And I'm like, yeah, you just discovered him. He's new to you, babe.
New to you.
Because yes, I have those moments where like, shut the fuck up and sit down.
Yeah.
It's okay to have those moments and never publicly. But you think it's important.
Right. But they have to fit. That's where finding new voices really comes in, is they're fitting the characters. I mean, the truth is also the opposite. The veterans do know how to kind of morph themselves into the character. I had Shane East on a book in my second series that to this day, there's one scene that still brings me to tears. He got so emotional and I'm like, oh my God, this man. I mean, he went for it. And I'm like, oh my God, this is why you're a professional. It's still amazing. I mean, and that was like last year. I still, it's moments like that one makes it really worth it for the author to invest in an audiobook, because it is an investment.
Absolutely.
And for the reader, I hope it's a payoff too, that it's thought went into casting, thought went into it by the performer, whoever the voice actor is, it's not just reading. It's not AI, which I don't even want to get into. There is a creativity there all around that is really putting in a lot of effort to tell these stories. And I hope listeners, can appreciate that.
No, when a narrator gets into the role and performs and you're going, damn, didn't even think that was possible. I love it. And it gives me, that's where, even like, for an example, with Shane East, when, when I first started listening to him, there's a lot of romance and stuff like that. And then I found a fantasy that he did. And I was like, shit.
Yeah.
This is what the whole hoopla about you is.
Exactly.
He's like, really? I'm like, well, what? Sorry, I'm not the girl that goes fangirl goo goo gaga over y'all, okay? But his performance in that one series, I mean, he was the witch and the monsters and the fair and a fucking unicorn that was horny as fuck.
Nice.
But all variety of range. And I'm like, see this, why aren't you doing this more?
These narrators are talented.
Yeah, they are. And I think sometimes we typecast them and may not be able to give them in these bigger roles. And so when they do find a book that they can really stretch out their talents, it's like, yeah, I'm like, I want more of that.
I actually feel bad for some of my narrators because, like I said, I don't write rom-coms. And some of the emotional stuff is really emotional. And the narrators have to go there. And I feel bad. It's like, I'll get an email. Thanks for making me cry today. I'm like, I didn't want you to cry. I mean, yay, but I'm sorry.
You mean you're not cackling in your evil voice that you made them cry? You do a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit. I think it's the same thing with you when you're playing a music, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being able to get down and dirty with it and bring out that emotion. That's their tool. That's what they do. And, and if they're making the listener cry as well as themselves, you've done your job as the author, and then they have done their job as the narrator. And as it should be. Otherwise, I'm going, wait, was that supposed to be emotional?
I think writing about rock stars lends itself to that too, because they're musicians. All of them are emotional and they're basket cases. And it's like, there is so much emotion, whether it's buried, whether it's, right on the surface. It's there innately just in the fact that they're a rock star. So good times.
It's always good. But don't lie to yourself. You cackled. Well, that's like the running joke with the authors too. I mean, do you have that mug? If you don't, we need to get one for you. That these are the tears of my readers and stuff like that.
There's actually a whiskey called Writer Tears.
Oh, see? And I think I saw some like potato chips salted with the tears of the readers and stuff like that. So.
Oh, that's perfect. I definitely need a mug.
So when you're not writing these torture souls of your rock stars, what do you do for fun?
Oh gosh, is this guilty pleasures?
No, that's later, girl.
Okay. What do I do for fun? What is this fun everybody's having? It's like the Millers. Y'all are having fun. I read. I listen to music. I like to do things around the house. I'm a self-proclaimed, but not self-proclaimed Renaissance woman. I start projects and sometimes I finish them. I refinished my basement a couple years ago all by myself.
Nice.
We're talking framing, drywall, everything, plumbing. Yeah. I love doing stuff like that. I'm a bit of a putterer. My dad was a putterer where you just had like little projects that you do around the house. And that's me. And I am like the queen of hobbies. I can crochet. I can knit. I can paint by number. I can take pictures. I'm always doing something. And if I haven't done it yet, it'll go on the list.
Okay. We have a lot in common, girl.
Do we?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yes. That's also why I have not picked up any product that has to do with epoxy. I start a project and then I'm like, hey, this would be great to add to my boutique. Oh, no, It doesn't work with what I have. Let's start another business.
Yeah. Yes.
So do not.
I am so bad with hobbies. Oh my God.
I know. I've done the same thing. I'm like between photography and I even bought an engraver that's sitting in my dining room table as I'm looking at it right now.
They're expensive.
They are expensive, but there's a purpose for it. I just got to have the time and the organization to get the table cleared as it all goes by. But yes, it's fun. But now I'm going to be getting some needles and stuff that you're going to teach me a different stitch because I can make, like, I know how to knit like a scarf.
I can do rectangles out the yin yang. Absolutely.
Because this is technically a rectangle or a square. And I'm like, yes. And I know how to finish it. That's about it, though. I want to know how to do other things.
Oh, I don't know other things. I do the rectangles.
You do too? Okay.
Maybe we can put them together.
Yes. Who else is going? We should do that in the attending group. Who else knows how to crochet at the group? Absolutely.
Let's do it. We'll make one big blanket.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it could be auctioned off later for charity. Why not? And then we all have a story behind it. So why not? You're good. So we're now going to do a couple of games because they're always fun. And I love seeing how y'all come up with this stuff. So we're going to do 2 truths and a lie where you tell me 3 things about yourself. And hopefully you haven't already told them to me. Where you tell us the 3 things and we'll try to figure out which one's a lie. So when you're ready.
I had a hard time with this homework, by the way.
Why it's called homework.
I know. But my life, remember spreadsheets?
Yes. Oh, God.
I once had a spreadsheet of all of the crazy shit that happened to me in my life and all the things, weird things that I've done because I'm old, first of all. And second of all, a lot of shit has happened. And I used to have a spreadsheet and I think it's on an old computer and I can't find it. So trying to work from memory to do this 2 truths and a lie. I once partied with Motorhead after one of their concerts and played bongos with their drummer. I once tried out for Jeopardy and missed it by 1 question. I was first runner-up Miss Bedford Heights the year after Halle Berry won the contest. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks. Well, you did your homework really well. Oh, my goodness. And it's, again, I've always said it, it's all about the details. It could have been 2 questions instead of 1 with the Jeopardy. It could have been, guitar instead of bongos. It could have been the one before or after Halle Berry. Oh, goodness. So which one's the lie?
You want me to tell you?
I'm going to guess it is Jeopardy. Is that the lie?
That is a lie, partially. I did try out for Jeopardy. They tell you can tell everybody you missed it by 1 because they don't tell you how many you missed it by. So when I do tell people, I'm like, yeah, I tried out for Jeopardy. I missed it by 1 question.
So that is the truth then? Or is that your lie?
It's a lie because I don't know how many I missed.
Oh, okay.
They didn't tell me. They said I could say 1. They said that to everybody, though.
See? Again, detail, folks. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. See? Guessed it right, though.
Yeah. Good job. That was a fun experience. I have a pen. I got a pen out of the deal.
I think that takes massive guts to go onto any kind of show like that. But, when it comes down to that, it's like, yeah, I'm like, I will sit in my couch and say, books for 400, please.
Oh my God. I watch Jeopardy every time I eat because it's on, I think, Pluto TV.
I think so.
It's on all the time. So whenever I eat a meal, I am eating it with Alex Trebek and dominating.
There's been times where I've killed it. And other times I'm like, I'm the stupidest girl ever. I think it just depends on the theme,
I suck at geography. I suck at math. Give me like the pop culture, the music, the authors. I'm good.
So if we ever are in a team event of some sorts or like conference and we're playing Jeopardy, I'm so picking you.
I am there. I am there. I'm your girl. I'm the one with all the useless facts in her head.
I'm on Amy's team. Now on to guilty pleasures. So as someone that has not been on the show before, we do for the Patreons a segment of Would You Rather, because I love making you guys choose between two things. That's where I have the insert evil laugh moment. And it becomes very interesting as far as getting to know you guys and from the answers to how you go about it. But one of the questions is, would you rather tell everyone your guilty pleasures or never partake in any of these guilty pleasures ever again? And then the answer one way or the other, but we leave it at that. We don't ever go into what those guilty pleasures are because it ain't none of my business, especially if it comes into from a kink perspective, which everybody always thinks it's about the sex, right? When the reality is like they want to eat their ice cream from the container versus putting it in a bowl. They eat the entire sauce of the cheese sauce for the nuggets watching a movie, whatever. Those are their guilty pleasures. And and then of course my favorite is you guys are like, I'm so boring. And then insert stuff. And I'm like, no, that's pretty neat though. So I decided that, for a little while now we're going to be asking you not only about the guilty pleasure stuff, but I want to know, what are your guilty pleasures?
My guilty pleasure is World of Warcraft. How weird is that?
Something to you, though.
Yeah, I am a WoW player. I have been since 2011. I stopped for a while, but that is my guilty pleasure, is running around like a blood elf with a bunch of my friends, killing dragons and monsters. And it's a guilty pleasure because it takes time away from like my writing or, life. But it is also very rewarding. I actually years ago used it in a job interview that I ran a guild of like 50 people. And we were like top 3 in our server and rating and blah, blah, blah. And it was apparently impressive enough to get me the job.
Oh, no, it is. I mean, first of all, you have scheduling skills to get everybody together to play, and then keeping everybody abreast to what's going on when you're not in the same room with each other and there's a lot. Says the girl that did HR for 16 years for Disney. So I can do anything. Like I can spin a thing. Yeah.
Exactly. It does take a particular set of skills to run a guild.
Yeah. And then and also commitment, because those things they're not quickies, people. They're not quickie games. They're not.
No, it's especially when you get everybody together to like go into a certain raid or dungeon and there's like 10 bosses in that dungeon and try to get them all in one evening. It's fun. It's funny because my friends that know that I write romance, they're like, why don't you write fantasy? Because I am a big Tolkien fan, Lord of the Rings and Cassandra Clare and Jim Butcher. I mean, you name it. I'm a fantasy fan. And they're like, why don't you write that? I'm like, I'd rather read it. I'd rather play it than create it. I mean, I have started books like that, sure, but I'm choosing fan rather than creator on that one.
Well, there's something to be said when it comes down to the creators and the creative people.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's always like, oh, you should do that as a job, or you should do that to earn money. And a lot of folks will bust out with, then I'm not going to do it anymore because it stops being fun.
Exactly.
And it is true. It becomes about being fun.
There's a lot of truth in that for sure.
So do you have your own like equipment and dices and names and like all that fun stuff?
Well, that's Dungeons and Dragons.
See how you totally am not that girl.
Which I also used to play during COVID. I was actually on a Twitch stream I was on a Twitch stream doing Dungeons and Dragons. I love that. But yes, I do have my own dice. I even have like remember the Run DMC shirt? I have a Run D&D shirt. I am a geek.
Okay. No, I love those kind of things. I was the girl that like my son wanted to play because he loves board games, and so he has to them, and I was like, "Hey, let's play Uno," and I'm like, I should be, and he has different themes of Unos. I'm like, I wonder if there's like a Pride and Prejudice or witchy one. I'm like, oh, tarot card Uno. Yeah, so I'm like, oh, okay, that's where I end up spending half the day.
I mean, you technically could play with tarot cards.
Yes, you can.
Just screw up somebody's life, really.
Yeah. It's always so misconceiving. Like, death does not mean death. It means
no, it's rebirth.
Rebirth, yeah.
Absolutely.
Always like Pentacles of 9. I'm like, okay. I love me a good tarot card. I have a couple of them. Funny enough, I actually have a Jane Austen one.
Do you? I'd love
do.
to see those. I have a steampunk version.
Nice.
I'll bring my steampunk. You bring your Jane Austen.
Yeah, I will do that. I do. Like, I've been getting more into that recently and stuff like that. And so I have a bunch of different decks. For me, it's about the artwork as well. Again, so it's one of those like, oh, okay. And then the Oracle cards is another one that I have been collecting too. Love a good Amy Brown.
Very cool.
I love her artwork. So it's a good guilty pleasure. Okay. So now when I go to the Renaissance festivals, I'm going to be looking for things for Dungeons and Dragons for my other folks and not for you for the Warcraft.
Yes. Very cool.
Yay. All right. The other thing too that we've done, because the guest has done it before, have gone rogue on me and started asking me questions. I'm like, this show ain't about me, people. Stop it. And I've been times where I've been able to cut it off real quick. And other times I'm like talking, I'm like, oh shit, you did that again.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm just going to just add it as a segment and give you guys an opportunity to ask me anything. If you have a question, great. If you don't, we'll go on.
I do have one.
Okay.
What is your favorite audiobook and why?
Ooh.
Is there one that you like your comfort read that you go back to and it's like, I'm in the mood for that vibe? Or is it one for every emotion?
See, that's the thing. For me, it's, I have favorites, and there's always that I try not to do the whole re-listen.
Mm-hmm.
I suck at remembering if the guy had blue eyes or green eyes or things like that in detail. So I actually went back, and one series that I've done a full re-listen on that I love it is Danica Dark's The Majory series that is narrated by Nicole Poole. And it paranormal, which is my thing, and, magics. And it was a different spin on, being a mage and the whole PNR thing. But Nicole Poole is a woman of multiple voices. It's almost like people think, yeah, she's really great. And it's, it's almost to a point where you end up almost getting a multicast when you hire her, which is fantastic. And Danica has a true gift of weaving in the realisticness of our, contemporary world into PNR. Like her other series, the 7 series, basically reads as a contemporary where there just happens to be shifters.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's the one that I recommend to readers that want to get into PNR, but haven't because they've always been about the contemporary. And I'm like, well, then read, the 7 series by Danica Dark. And again, she's such a great storyteller, and the narrator does a fantastic job. And then my only other one is the Charlie Davison series. But
the what?
Yeah, I was laughing because I'm going, yeah, I'm going to go there. What I love about this series is that while it's multiple books within the same series and technically can be read as a standalone, the overarching arc of the 2 main characters goes throughout the whole series. And so you see them grow and kind of learn and stuff like that. And it's the Charlie Davison series. Looking up to make sure that I pronounce the name of the narrator correctly. Because it's the author's Dorinda Jones.
Okay.
So yes. I have to see it because otherwise I mispronounce it, which is hilarious considering it's Lorelei King is a narrator.
Okay.
He's another one that is also one narrator, but multicast option because her range is so light. And this is a PNR where Charlie is not only a PI, he's also the Grim Reaper.
Nice.
So in every book, you're solving a new mystery, which come to find out I do love thrillers, not realizing that that's what it was kind of a thing, and mysteries. Not much of a thriller or reader, or mystery reader, but all my, like if you were to watch my Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Reacher, all these other, they're all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a new story with her in every book, and then again the overarching arc. And so she's the Grim Reaper, and her love interest is the son of Satan. So yeah.
Ah, I love when that happens.
Yes.
Agatha Christie of the underworld.
Yeah. So you kind of try to figure out who done it and why. And then you also get the fact, that she sees dead people because she's the Grim Reaper and people have to go through her to see the light kind of thing. Again, Dorinda has a gift for storytelling and holding the audience captivating, but it's also the banter is so good on this, and still has a steaminess from a romance perspective and everything like that. But again, it's when you have a great author writing these stories for us, and then the narrator just embodies it. That's like perfection. And I don't give out 5 stars reviews at all. And here's controversial topic: a 3-star authors is a good review. Okay.
I agree.
It means that I liked it. It was a good review. And that's a topic for another show. But I don't give out 5s at all. I mean, if that's, to me, that's perfection. This series and Danica's are the only ones that I have, off the top of my head that I've given out a 5. Molly Harper has a few of her books also that have been 5s.
I'm going to have to check them out.
Kind of like Serinda, kind of like you, with your chapter titles being movie songs, stuff like that. Hers are all like either T-shirts or should be T-shirts, slang and saying varies. She's, the character as well as during the very sarcastic, which is, dear to my heart.
Yeah, I love it.
That's a good question. Thank you.
Sure. See, it benefited me, so it was a self-serving question.
Oh, hey, it's, a lot of folks, listeners nowadays are all about the latest and greatest, newest author, and they're all about popularities. And I'm like, and I love discovering new to me authors, but I'm also like, there's so many authors that have been around for eons in a good way that sometimes I feel like, hey, why aren't we talking more about these authors because they're that good? So those are my 2 that I tend to go back to and re-listen or reread because they're also on my bookshelf. If I like the book, I will buy it, even though I listen to an audio.
Oh my God, if I had the physical book for every audiobook oh God,
no.
I'd be buried alive.
Yes, very much so. This entire house would be built up books at this point if I did that. I started off with, if I really, really liked the book, even before I started being fully audio, I would buy the books. And then when I got more into audio, I would buy the physical book. But it was mostly those like authors that I connected with online, or their stories just captivated me, or even, but there's an entire, like, I have one bookcase from IKEA. The Billies ones are fantastic for this stuff. The doors to them, glass in the top for like the first, like the top 3, and then it's closed off by the wood on the bottom 3. There's one specific bookcase that has books that I bought at conventions that I've probably will never read, but it's because as I walking by, the author just something, and I'm asking about the book, and I love the premises or anything, or they're just being so kind. I'm like, I'll buy the book because I love to support. May not be my jam, or it's one of those where like, I'll try something new. But yeah, so there's an entire bookcase, like 3 shelves dedicated to books I have purchased from people.
Don't buy any books from me, because I will not trust you to read them.
Too many books, never enough time, honestly. And as much as I want to try, I become okay with DNFing for that exact same reason. And realizing that not everything was meant for me as a reader/listener. It's okay. Someone else will buy it. And so I've even done things like that. Like I DNF'd it because it wasn't my cup of jam because of XYZ, but anybody else, here's a copy. If it's a hardcover or paperback, I've gifted it out, thrown it to the library so others can, find it. In fact, there's some that have bought it because of the reasons why I DNF'd it. I'm like, all right.
Oh, it's got that in it.
Yeah. Like, well, there's a couple of books, the reviews are like, too much sex. Do you have any idea how many people bought that book because of that review?
Because of that? Yep.
Was it really necessary to have so many fuck you? I'm like, yes, it was. And what book was that again?
I'd be like, fuck yeah, there was. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Before we go, tell me what you're currently working on. What's coming out next for you?
The next Rockstar duet, Mayhem, is coming out April 24th. This features a unredeemable character from my first series, speaking of unredeemable, who is being redeemed, single dad, and book 2 is going to come out in July. We have Mayhem and Madness, and more rock stars.
Yeah. So those are coming up next. Are you writing anymore? Or you're like right now going, like, I'm done writing for this second.
I'm actually still working on Madness. There's a lot of like kismet in those words of these titles and my brain right now. So yeah, I'm still in the writing/editing process. My editing turns into writing, if that makes sense, because I get it back from my editor. I'm like, oh crap, I got to change a lot, don't I? So yeah, editing is a process. But for the rest of the year, that's what I have planned.
Okay.
I do have ADHD brain. I have like 5 series planned. I don't know that I'll get anything else by the end of the year because I want to focus on getting audiobooks for these.
And then, of course, I'm sure you'll get more ideas to add to your list once we go hang out.
I'm actually going to be in NOLA twice this year.
Oh, wow.
So I hope I really like it.
Oh, yeah. No, we're going to do a ghost tour.
Awesome. Yes.
There's a couple of fun places where you can get a good beignet that's not just the main one. There is that one house, or there's a few houses actually that have their fences. The
dick fence?
Yep.
I know about the dick fence.
Yeah.
Your last one.
Yeah. So it's going to be like, all right, let's go look for the dicks. I mean, the fences people.
The fence. Let's see if the fence is there.
Yes. But there's always a good ghost tour to go around and stuff. And
I've always wanted to do one.
You've never done a ghost tour before?
There's an old prison here where Shawshank Redemption was filmed that is haunted. I did a tour there, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
I've always wanted to do like a Southern cemetery kind of tour.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to figure that out. And make sure I bring the sage, because you never want to bring anything home with that after that. Taking enough tours to learn about that one.
I'm a tortured soul as it is. I don't need more.
You have enough voices in your head.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to have one that happened to be a school teacher that's telling you writing not enough commas there.
Shut up, Miss Tomko. All right. I wasn't specific at all.
Not at all. Don't feel bad. I still remember Mrs. Turtletop, who has, passed a long time ago, because she was old when I was in 3rd grade. But it's because of her that I learned how to make write cursive.
Well, my 1st grade teacher, Miss Tomko, I just mentioned, our grade school our class was pretty small. We actually still have reunions. She came to one at a bar and was doing shots with us. And she found my smut author page and liked posts and stuff. And I'm like, I cannot believe this is happening. My 1st grade teacher. It's nuts.
It happens, especially social media nowadays, when they feel like someone wants to friend you. And I'm like, I didn't like you in high school. What the fuck makes you think I'm going to... And then I'm like, oh, I liked you as a teacher. I'm like, oh, crap. She's seeing my...
She's going to see. They're going to know.
I actually had one that's like, it explains a lot. I'm like, okay. Yeah, it's okay. It sucks.
It hurts.
Yeah.
I feel attacked.
But yeah, we'll have fun in New Orleans. I'll figure some fun stuff for us to do, including that underwater basket weaving. Because why not, folks? Yeah. But with tarot cards, we're all good there. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with me. It's been so much fun.
Thank you for having me.
If you're not following Amy on social media, I will be including all of her social media links over at the main episodes page at Viviana Enchantress of Books. So until next time, happy listenings.
Thank you to all of our Audiobook Lovin Podcast Patreon. The Audiobook Lovin Podcast has special Patreon access levels. Join today to receive benefits including early access to episodes, shout-outs, special exclusive content, and much more. Support the podcast by becoming a Patreon at www.patreon.com/audiobookloving. We thank you for your support.
Thank you for joining us on the Audiobook Lovin Podcast, hosted by Viviana, Enchantress of Books. For links and more information discussed in today's episode, previous podcasts, or the Audiobook Lovin Series, please visit our website, vivianaenchantressofbooks.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a positive review wherever you listen to our podcast. Until next time, happy listening.